Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live, and Chandra can't be here today, and so Dave's filling in. Dave, thanks for joining us today. Um, you know, it's that time of year, Dave, where homes aren't as rented as much, and now's the time to do the maintenance. And we've talked about your strong home protection program quite a few times and getting on that so that people know what they need to repair. But you were just talking about pilings. And man, without a good foundation, a house won't last. And down here, we don't have slabs. We have on a lot of homes on Galveston and Kema and here on Bolivar, we have pilings. And, we're getting to those years where if they were built right after Ike or right before Ike, or they survived Ike, they probably need to be checked. And you were just talking about some bolts that y'all went and did a home inspection and they were gone.
Right. Yeah. We were doing a strong home inspection and we went out and noticed a lot of rusting on the exterior of the bolts. Of course, this was a 2007 built home, beachfront. But we went out and started looking at it and saw a lot of rust. So we had the homeowner took one of the bolts out and they weren't even, there was a lot of rust on the outside, but there was no metal left on a lot of these bolts on the inside.
So more or less the paint or something was holding the head and the bolt, the nut, and the little bit that sticks out. But there was nothing on the inside.
There was nothing. It had completely rusted on the inside of that piling. And so, we went to a couple of the neighbors' house and just looked at theirs, and they were, experiencing similar issues. Mm-hmm. So they ended up having to replace all the bolts and every one that they took out. Some that didn't even look that bad, that were towards the back of the house, they were even getting a lot of rust on the inside. So that's something that we've, when you have an older, that's one of those maintenance things that you don't think about. But if you start seeing some rusting on the piles, you see some rust streaking down where the bolts are going through, you could have some issues going on there. Maybe something you want to have checked, because if you do get a wind event and those houses start moving and there's nothing in there, that's problems. So.
Well, even going through, and you just said, houses move, and even when you walk up in a house, some houses, especially if they don't have a garage or the louvers underneath, you can feel those houses move, and over time, the wood shrinks down, and those nuts can actually back off a little bit if they're not painted or if they weren't real tight to start with. And you don't want that, because anytime you have slop in something, or it's loose, it makes a snap point there. And so, and like I've always said, man, PVC down here rusts. And so there's not too much. Someone told me once, oh man, I got this awesome stainless grill. I said, yeah, come back and see me in about a year and tell me how awesome it is.
Well, yeah, if you have a house on the water, you're fighting weather, you're fighting all the corrosive conditions of living on the coast. And it's just there's just certain things that you think about. Okay, hey, I can see my paint starting to fade. I need to do this, or I've got, some other things that are obvious, but that may be something that could be a significant issue for you that you're not really aware of. So.
Well, and while we're talking about the bolts at the top of the pilings, in the bottom of the house, let's talk about the pilings, because down here, pilings have come a long way. And, we lost a lot of homes during Ike. Some of it was tornadoes, some of it was one house hitting another, but some of it was old telephone poles.
Right.
And we don't see that anymore. And a lot of people have replaced them. But let's talk about piling maintenance, because that's another thing that, you get into a 15, 20-year-old house, depending on when it was built, the type of pilings they were using. you may need to check on those.
Right, and we do a lot of piling repair procedure letters and certifications on those. And what we see the most frequent, Galveston and Bolivar, is right at the ground, right where it's either at the concrete or at the ground. You start seeing some decay, and then once you start seeing that decay. Your clock's ticking on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there's a certain amount that you can, treat and try and keep the pile, but then there's also whenever you get to where it's completely degraded, then you've got to start making repairs. So
can you on something like that, can you, if you break the concrete out, you've got just, usually it's about 6 or 8 inches,
right.
Can you repair that with an overlay or something, or do you have to go back and, in order to keep your insurance and your windstorm and everything up, do you have to go back and repair the piling?
Right. So the easiest way to do that, there's several different methods that you can use, and just depending on what your circumstance is. But yes, you're looking at chipping out concrete around that pile, and then you have to dig down. Usually it's only rotted down about maybe 10 to 18 inches. Is kind of in that area. So you have to dig down below grade, and then at that point, the existing sub pile that's still there. Of course, you've got to support all your stringers and everything when you start doing all this work, and put some temporary supports in there, and then you dig down, you get down, and then you want to notch the existing piling that's in the ground about 18 inches, and then we through bolt it with 4 stainless steel bolts to a new piece that's coming down and going back up to the stringer. And
so you don't have to replace the whole piling.
You don't have to replace
those pilings are typically, when they're in the ground, they don't have air to them, and so they can't rot. And so you don't have to repair the whole piling. You just repair what's damaged up to so it's really not a visible fix.
Right. Yeah, it's something that you're not gonna notice. If you have a 30-foot long piling, you can't get that under the house. So you're gonna have to do a repair like this. They also have some other. There's a jacket system where you put this jacket system on it around the pile. Of course, aesthetically it's different because this is a round system versus a square. So if you have a square pile, you'll notice a repair, that's been repaired, but that's also a good system. So you put this jacket system, and then you concrete it in around there, and you make your repair that way. So that's another way that we see a lot of those types of repairs. But I tell people, we get a lot of calls when people are buying houses, and the home inspectors found some rot at the ground line. So they call us out, we go and look at it, and people ask all the time, should I be concerned about it? And it's not as big a deal, other than the financial. It's going to cost you money to do this. The repairs are typically really good. We can certify them. It's kind of like you have
put new tires on your car.
Right, a piece of pipe that you're going to weld. That weld is really, really good. It's not as strong as the original metal, but it's still really good. So.
Okay, great. Well, if people have questions on their pilings and their bolting, or they want y'all to come out and look at them, what's the best way for them to get hold of y'all to start that process?
Yeah, they can just call us, 409-935-5200. Reach out to us through our webpage, aaronandfranklin.com. And we'll go ahead and set something up and get an inspector out. Usually, if a person calls us and sets up a job and pays for it today, we can have somebody out and follow it. So
great.
It's a pretty quick process.
Great. Well, we're going to let you get some coffee this morning. Thanks for joining us, and tell Chandra, it's always nice having y'all. Tell Chandra she's got a replacement if she needs to take off. You got it handled now.
It's the B team for sure.
Yeah,
the B team for sure. Yeah.
It's all A team. Anything at Aaron and Franklin's A team. So, well, we're going to head on out. Until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye.
Video equipment is sponsored by
Crystal Beach Decor and More, located at 1959 Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas, and Beachy Beatnik Boutique and Jewelry, located at 970 Surfside and Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas. Thank you to these two businesses for being our 2025 video equipment sponsor for Bolivar Live.